Okay, I'm Jennifer Higgins. I, as among other things, help run the Aginext community and do the both community and communications marketing for the conferences and our community. And just as something to offer, a lot of people are having a rough time right now. Where maybe some are on the verge of losing their jobs or in furlough, things like that. So this was something to offer that I do anyway, pro bono, for especially underrepresented minorities in tech. I also do it as a side hustle sometimes for white men, etc. But basically, I'm a tech storyteller. I'm a marketer, but I figured out how to do LinkedIn. LinkedIn is dumb. That will be a recurring theme today. So I'll introduce like a couple ideas. So why like your homework was important, things like that. But basically everything we're talking about is for freemium LinkedIn. If you do LinkedIn right, I do not believe you need to use premium LinkedIn. Obviously for recruiters, things like that, it could be very valuable, but for the individual LinkedIn, there's no need for it. I've never used it. I would say about a third of my clients come inbound from LinkedIn. All of my clients come inbound. The other 2/3 are because I write and I get paid to write on my topic. Now, that's not a bad idea for everyone to write on their topic, and you can use LinkedIn for that. So if it's okay, please do jump in because I'm going to be jumping around. I'm going to share my screen and hold on, I don't see any notes, so I'm going to quit Slack now just to do that. Please go ahead and add your LinkedIn in the jobs section of the Slack community because it's just a way for us to all connect, or you can add it in this chat too. If we're not all connected, we should be, because why not? That's like 450 new connections you can make in the Aginext community. But 450 new connections leads to probably exponentially millions new secondary connections, which is really what matters. So just to explain how LinkedIn works, like the two logistical sides of LinkedIn to understand is when someone searches for you or searches for a topic, an idea, whether it's agile coach or tech storyteller, like the fact that's in my headline is how I get jobs because I rank for storyteller and tech storyteller. So how you write it is, so when they search for you, those search results go with your connections, your for primary connections, your secondary connections, like who's connected to your connections. That includes not only the people like that connect to your connections, any group you're in. Groups, I cannot stress, you should be in 50 groups, plus any you're managing. Groups are cesspools of self-promotion. They are incredibly useless, in my opinion. Maybe there are some groups you're in that are positive. However, you are secondarily connected to all the group members. You just need to be in them. You literally, if you have a benefit from a small group or something, sure, join them. Normally, I would say join groups that are a mix of like geography and size, but I would just go for size now and topic. An easy way if you're trying to connect with someone that you like, first of all, LinkedIn will try to trick you to try to use their email. Usually if you do the drop down arrow, you can hit connect there. LinkedIn's trying to push you to pay. You don't need to. And if you do, you could always do the 1 month trial. Just put a reminder to cancel that, or Microsoft will start billing you a lot. But and then anyone that's worked at the same company as you or gone to the same university as you, some of the courses on there. So when I say worked at the same company, if you've worked for a McDonald's or a Starbucks or the military, add it to your LinkedIn. These are things you probably wouldn't add to your CV, but they're going to be buried so far down in your LinkedIn that these are some of the massive employers of the world. So you'll be secondarily connected to all those people. So it's a mix of that and then keywords. So everything how you show up in that, and also the people who also viewed, which like if you're looking at a profile, there'll be suggestions. That's probably the best way to qualitatively validate your, I have to admit someone, sorry, I just saw the notification. Sorry, Dex, if you're just coming in, I just saw the notification to admit you. That's a good way to qualitatively validate your profile, especially before and after you update it. You can just go into incognito mode and type in your URL for your LinkedIn, and then that will let you see who else are suggested. And it's a good way to validate if it's right. Usually the people who also viewed are a mix of companies you've worked at, and then also they are like the keywords, like how LinkedIn is reading you. And LinkedIn has done a lot of stuff itself for you. The other thing to understand when we talk keywords is LinkedIn doesn't understand a lot. It's not Google. It's like maybe Google was like 13 years ago. So HR. This is maybe HR isn't the best example because it probably does understand HR because it's an HR platform. I always use the example of SEO. Google knows SEO and search engine optimization are the same thing, but LinkedIn doesn't. So you want to be repetitive and redundant. It also doesn't understand most punctuation. It basically just understands full stops and commas. So when you're writing things, if you see on the left side, like all of these would be read differently. And this would only be read if someone, you can see my cursor, right? If you wrote this exact phrase and no one would ever search a slash in there. So you want to go through extra careful spacing. You want to go through extra careful way of writing it. And then, for example, my husband's first surname is Gonzalez. That has an accent. However, even Spanish people don't usually type the accent in, the 6th most popular name in the world. So he needs to make sure when he has his name, he writes it in 2 different ways. Like he writes it somewhere on his profile with the accent and somewhere without the accent. So he'll rank for his own name. This again happens if often women change their name when they get married. You have to update all that. So if you go by a nickname, I have a friend named Bex. I didn't even know her name was Rebecca. I couldn't find her on LinkedIn because she just wrote Rebecca and her surname on LinkedIn. But Bex is like what she goes by. So she needs both those names in there. She may need to like clarify at the end of her summary that that's there, but that's important. So as we're looking at a LinkedIn profile, let's open mine just to see. There are certain parts of LinkedIn that help you rank for those keywords. So the idea of everything we're doing is about amplifying your network. If you don't have this 500 plus, you need to get 500 plus because you look like crap, and then using the keywords. So there's a couple things I want you to verify. Check your contact info first and foremost. Make sure that it's the email address you actually check all the time and read for jobs. Make sure you have anything else public that you want to have. Like maybe if you code, GitHub, if you have a website, but websites take a lot of update. Don't add something if you're not going to keep it up to date. And then I strongly recommend you actually remove your birthday. You need it to log into LinkedIn, but you can set it for only LinkedIn reads because that is an identity theft, like gimme. It makes people very easily, because even if it doesn't have the year, they can figure out pretty quickly from university. So it's very good. So as we look at a LinkedIn profile, there's certain things that click for keywords. There's 3 main that are really important. One is your headline. Your headline, unless you are the CEO of a legitimate company, not like your company you created for government tax purposes, but like should not have, it's not about your company that you work for, unless you create it, of course. It's about who you are and all the different roles. So your headline, if you notice, there's a lot of repetition on my profile. So here you have the different names for what I do. And you can work it the way you want. Like, don't go with just the job titles you were given. Go with the job titles you want. I went through a long interview process and chose not to take a tech analyst role, but guess what? If I was being considered for a tech analyst job, I'm a tech analyst. So I added it to my profile. I added freelance because people are just annoying on LinkedIn, and the more technical your role is, the more spammy they get. So your headline is the most important thing, and then your job titles. Again, for any role for a company, you should not just do the job title they give you. Specifically, if you use consultant, consultant has 0 meaning. Consultant just means the same as freelancer, basically. It just means human without permanent contract. So A lot of people just put consultant, and that might be their official role for the job. Talk about what you're doing. Use all the keywords you can use. Also, if you're in a technical role, use the languages in your subject, in your title. All of the, I mean, y'all are agile. All of the agile keywords, the safe, the scrum, whatever the keywords are, add them. And then the third thing that's super important, by the way, welcome everyone. And if you have any questions, go for it. I think there's a chat notification, sorry. Yes, please do share your LinkedIn profiles in the chat as well as in the job sections. Add mine because I'll probably remember the Zoom chat is non-permanent. It will disappear, so add me because I might lose it. Like, so when this call ends, I'm not going to go sharing. Like, technically it'll record as I'm recording the call, but the chat, so the chat, look at it as impermanent, but I'm recording this call. I am still right. Does it say recording to y'all? Yes? Okay, good. Just to check, because it doesn't say while I'm sharing a screen. There we go. This is the other thing that is super important. If you've never worked on your LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn has done this for you. Not only has LinkedIn done this for you, LinkedIn, because it's owned by Microsoft, has probably said that you are skilled at a Microsoft Office tool, at least one, if not many. You need to, if I say anything you should do besides check your contact info, because like people have old email addresses, they have their work. Also make sure that your accounts for anything, including the Slack for Aginext, and if obviously you're part of the Slack community, if you got this, invitation, make sure it's not with your work email. Anything with social media, make sure it's not your work email. Make sure it's your personal email that you own the rights to, because you never know when you're going to lose it. So the three things I always say, and especially for you since you're on your way out losing your job, import that emails from work. Import those, like, so the first things I always say, like the three most important things, look, I keep adding more. So contact info, check your contact info, check what's public, and check if it's okay. Import all email addresses you have to add connections, especially at your current jobs or any job you have access to as a consultant, any email address. Import and add those connections before you lose it, because we live in uncertain times. So you want to do that as soon as possible. So, and then third is your skills and endorsements. As I said, LinkedIn probably did this for you already. Your profile probably was not great. Sorry, truth. And LinkedIn did this for you on your behalf. So what you want to do is type in to make sure it's the right one, and it's a drop down and select. Some of them may be right, but they're at the bottom. So you want to drag up. So your top three, you can have up to 50 for most people. I don't know how I did that. There we go. For most people, you probably want to stick to like 25 to 35 because you want to rank for certain terms. But specifically the top three, you want to drag with the little hamburger, drag up to be specific about what you want. And then let's look at Divya's LinkedIn, because she's my golden star. She was actually the first of the pro bono I did like back in February, because I do 3 a week. So if anybody also, after this, after you've done your work, worked on it, just ping me and I'll update it. So she actually taught me this. This is only really in the technical fields, but even as an agile coach, being able to prove that you have technical background, or as Scrum, whatever you're doing as team leader, I think being able to prove you have a technical background is very helpful. Here we go. You can take something, if you go to your profile, you're going to see take skills quiz. Very interesting. This is a whole new level. Ranking for certain themes and getting your friends to plus, very valuable. Then having proven and taken a LinkedIn assessment, which is free and it only shows once you passed it, takes you to a whole new level of search engine. So go through these, curate this list, try to keep it as specific as possible. Again, coach maybe is not specific enough. Agile coach, Scrum Master, blah, 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 whatever those terms are. Leadership, I don't really love that one. Like, I guess if you're a manager, but it's very open. Like, you're competing against everybody that's in a leadership role. Management, again, very competitive. So try to look for what are the most specific to you. Like, note that digital marketing is a bit questionable, but I have a lot of likes for that. Look, blogging is not my top one because how many bloggers are on LinkedIn? Also, when you're looking at groups to join to get your numbers up, HR groups are huge on LinkedIn. You're going to hit 2 million secondary connections with each HR group. I would go for the HR groups. The Women in Tech is another really big one. SaaS, there's a lot of big ones for business software, things like that. So, and then just to say, as you go through, there's certain things you want to fill out. You want to make sure then the next level of SEO keywords is your about section, which we're going to go through specifically in a minute. Note that keywords, but very redundant keywords like SEO, search engine optimization, and backlink strategy are basically the same thing, but they're all listed on my LinkedIn repeatedly. Repetition, make sure you have all of your job descriptions with more keywords. Any topics you do, links to stuff is a little iffy, things like that. So your job titles, and then your education, if it's relevant education, feel free to cram keywords in there. And then as you're trying to pivot your career, because I think a lot of people usually are, Coursera, edX, these massively open online courses are very valuable. They are technically free courses. However, if you spend like $50, here they are, you get a credential. Certification. This is another thing that if you've taken any sort of certification, Scrum Master, whatever it is, any courses you've taken during your current company, especially before you're going to leave, try to get those numbers. Try to get all that credentials information. Also try to get any numerical numbers you can get. So now I'm just going to do a quick summary of the summary or now about section, and then we will take it to the group to like help discuss your specific profiles and help each other, and you can understand how the process works. So the about section has 4 sections. How you order it depends on what you're looking for, but for me, the last section I always talk about first. I like to call it the part no one reads, like you saw on me, or I always use Divya as a good example. This is just bam, 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 keyword, keyword, keyword. Look at all those languages. Look at all those things. Kubernetes community is going to rank differently in Kubernetes. I don't know if she wants to add K8 in there because that's a really common abbreviation for Kubernetes. But I mean, I might have to talk to her about this. I'm not loving that. And like docs is fine to write, but she should probably write documentation or technical documentation in there as well. But it's a big long list of all your keywords. So that should be the last section of your LinkedIn profile about section, which is like, you see I snazzed it up with check marks at some point. Then the rest of it depends on the order. So if you're looking for a job right now, openly, go through your settings. You can even reach a point when you get open to work around your photo. Oh, speaking of, make sure you have a photo that is public to everyone. This is not someone I would hire. Look at these people. I would accept on LinkedIn. If I didn't know that person personally, I would never accept someone without a photo. It looks spam. So you need to go through your settings. A good way to check that also is go in incognito mode and go through your public profile and see what's public. Everything in my profile is public, and I'm very locked down besides my contact info. Like, I am someone that keeps my private info locked down, but I look at my CV or my LinkedIn as a public entity, besides like no phone number. And again, like I said about the birth date, but make sure you have a photo that is just of you. Strongly recommend smiling, especially for women. That will affect your results. Call it what it is. but yeah, you can see how you compare to different people and what was put. So oh, that's what I was going to show you. I was going to show you how it looks if you, I think Khan just got a job, so she probably won't. I'm just thinking of someone that I know. Here we go. That I saw recently has the thing. There we go. So this is a new feature of LinkedIn. So if you set your level of your open to work, and again, the thing, yes, smiling affects the result. Someone asked, yes. We live in a sexist, racist world, yes. That's the thing, especially for females. It affects if people get accepted, if women get jobs, if women get the presidency, not smiling enough. A lot of other things factor in, but it's a sad truth. I speak the truth. It's not always the nicest, but so yeah, you can set your, obviously if you're surreptitiously looking for a job, you don't want to set this or this one. But you can also set like lower level backend stuff that like only recruiters see you're open to work. But go all in. Someone's on the chat. She hasn't heard that before. Someone hasn't heard that before. Yeah. Dress for the job you want in the picture. Like some jobs may be more formal, but otherwise if you're in developer space, maybe dress like a developer. Look at the camera smiling, just you, not even your dog. That could maybe go in a cover photo though, because that's a topic you can talk about. Okay, so your call to action. If you are looking for a job, that should be your first statement. I am looking for a job because of this and to bring this. We'll talk about that now. We'll go through that exercise. By the way, I will share my slides after this, my public slides. It says 2,000 words. There's a typo in the slides, shamefully. Get over it. It's 2,000 characters. You would figure that out sooner anyway. Then the rest of your About Us section is who you are and what you do. This is similar in your job descriptions, especially this part, the unique value proposition and any achievements, milestones, numbers, any percentage of productivity saved, any number of people you've managed. Just go for it. Sorry, I'm just checking the chat sometimes and making sure no one's popping in late. Welcome everyone, and please do interrupt me. So we're gonna go through this part now, the introduction of the summary, unless people have questions. So I'm gonna stop my share and then let's talk. So does anyone have questions so far about what was talked about? And if I missed it in the chat, just jump up. I'm just checking now.
Yeah, so maybe I will start, Jennifer, just almost it's like a summary question that how people will find us, recruiters or potentially people looking for a contributor to their projects, is by search, if I understood you correctly. And yes. When they search, if they only have a freemium account, can they search on all of us, or they can only search in their own network?
They can search everything. It's just they may hit a wall of the amount of searches they can make. But if they're working for a large organization, they'll have a premium network. But you do have a limited number. I've only hit it once, and I use LinkedIn quite strongly. I've only hit the wall once in the freemium, but of searching. So yeah.
So would you say then, as a follow-up question, that it's a good strategy for us to think about if we are pivoting a career or slightly changing roles, wanting to change roles, is to think about the top 3 keywords or top 10 keywords people would use to search for us.
I see you, Moni. I'll call on you next to Moni, so you don't have to keep your hand up. Sorry. Yes, absolutely. I usually use this as an example. And I usually share, it says on my profile that I'm a sales coach and a career coach. By the way, not a life coach. You do not want me for that. I'm very rude. But the thing is, I changed that. I came to Spain as an illegal immigrant 11 years ago. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna teach English. But I didn't like teaching kids. I didn't like teaching beginners, so I was teaching business people. And guess what? If you are taking English in Spain at your job, you're most likely looking for another job. So most of what I was doing was LinkedIn profiles and CVs and interview prep. because every job, especially during the height of the crisis, was requiring English despite not any need for it. So I pivoted, and it says on my profile that I'm a sales coach and career coach. You definitely want to pivot your job titles. That's why you want to give many job titles, and then you can rejig those top 3. I still keep under my skills and endorsements teaching English as a foreign language because it's my backup job. Thankfully, I haven't had to use it in like 8 or 9 years or especially since I married my husband and got legal right to work in the EU. But I keep it as a backup because it's something I'm good at and I enjoy. So I wouldn't remove stuff. I would just remove things like Microsoft Office I bet it's in most people's thing. So Amani, what was your question? You're on mute.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer. I actually have just hopefully 3 short questions. What do you think about connecting to recruiters, right?
Definitely.
I mean, I'm sure everyone's getting those invitations. Next is,
wait, let's go one question at a time. That's fine.
All right, sure, okay.
Yeah, because I don't have that type of brain power to recall everything, that type of memory in my old age. Yes, recruiters are the best people to connect with. I know if you are a pure developer, you're going to have a completely different opinion because developers get spammed with job offers. You are in a privileged position that no one else is pretty much in right now. But if you're a pure developer role, but by connecting recruiters, you're then connected to their secondary connections, and recruiters probably have the most secondary connections of anyone. They're the ones that actually hit the limit, which I think is 30,000 connections. I think is the max you can have on LinkedIn. They're the few people that are hitting that limit. So I would absolutely connect to recruiters because then you show up in the results more because you're first connected. Yeah.
So just based on that, would you connect with anyone that you've never worked with before and never really know anything about, but somehow they've, I don't know, come up in some kind of feed? What are your thoughts about that?
I would if they're interesting. As women, I've been proposed marriage on LinkedIn before. I do report those people. Flattering though it may be, no, it's horrible. The internet is not safe for women. That's why I do restrict, like, if people don't have a photo and I don't know them, if people have like a business account they're trying to connect you with or not a real human name, those are technically against the regulations of LinkedIn. I do use my like common sense, but if they're in a similar field or they're interesting, I also get like, I reject a lot of backlink experts. Like, I mean, at least 10 a week I'm getting sold back. I also get spammed a lot for Scrum Alliance, and it's like a copy paste thing. I have a running thread of like where I keep screenshotting a couple times a month. I get like, and that's people I've accepted because like I work in the agile space. But then I kind of, so you can always disconnect with people, but I would, the vast majority of people I accept. It's the easiest way to grow your feed. Yeah.
Awesome. Just 2 more if you don't mind.
No, of course. We're here.
I don't want to like take the focus, but you mentioned something about groups. So I'm in, obviously, I think most folks here are in the agile space. As an agile coach, Scrum Master, delivery manager, anything to do with Kanban, Scrum. But you mentioned something about the groups, and you said join as many groups as possible, and then I didn't get
50. Yeah.
50. Can you just iterate why?
Sure. You are secondary connected to everyone in a group. So that if you find you cannot connect with someone because like they're trying, like maybe they're a tertiary or further connection and LinkedIn's not letting you, and you've tried the drop down arrow on their profile because again, LinkedIn will try to trick you with this. You have to hit the drop down to find the connect button now. Scroll down to the bottom of their screen, click on interest, go to groups, join one of the groups they're in. You'll be able to add them immediately, except for founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates. Bill Gates will not, you need his email address. Trust me, I've tried. But because it seems like it would be useful source for me. Very few people have email connected. But yeah, the groups allows you to is the same level of people that worked at the same company as you, or that are connected to your friends. So it's just algorithmically, there's definitely a very big agile group I'll share in the chat that's like 200,000 or something, and say, oh, there's this one, like, I mean, the topic is called, so I don't share, IT professionals Arrow, Agile, Lean Scrum, DevOps, Security, Data, Cloud, SaaS, AI, ML. I will share my screen just for a second so you can see how it's written. There's a reason there's 250,000 members in this group. Look how perfectly that's written, except here, like they should have specified. Also, ML is not an abbreviation for machine learning. AI is an abbreviation for artificial intelligence, and it's one of the few that probably LinkedIn would at this point know the correlation, like HR, human resources, but ML is not a valid, it's a weird text thing. It's not. BI, business intelligence, this obviously means bisexual, which is totally cool, but it does not mean BI, business intelligence, BI. So you don't necessarily want to use those hashtags on Twitter. But I'll share this link to this group. But most abbreviations you don't want to use or you want to repeat. API is one I use a lot. That's probably okay. Yeah, so I would suspect you all join this group, but if we're all connected to me, you're secondarily connected to that group kind of anyway. So Amani, you have other questions? Am I pronouncing your name right, by the way?
Yes, no, thank you, it is. Last one for now is the pics. We talked about pictures, which I then questioned you about. Interesting. I've also read about sort of psychology, and as an Agile coach, I've read somewhere, I don't know if this is based on research or not, that if a female starts a conversation, be it a retrospective or some kind of event, it kind of sets a happier vibe or mood for the setting. I'm just sharing. But just going back to the pic, so I know you mentioned a few pointers on your picture, but what are your thoughts about the background picture? So LinkedIn introduced that layout. Do you think we should populate it? And if so, yes. What? Something inspirational or something that you value? I don't know.
Not a stock photo. I think he changed it. Let me see, because he's a great example. I'm looking at him now too, some of my co-working. But he had a great example. Let's see. But if you have an interesting hobby or a dog, probably not a cat, though maybe that's a controversial statement. You can put it as your cover photo. You need a high res for this. It needs to be a high res photo. If you publicly speak, like I use a public speaking one where I'm like an action shot. If you're like with a team and you have their permission and you're like doing a leadership motivational thing, but I'm just seeing, he took it down. It's annoying. What he had done was really cool for a while. I'm going to bug him about it when we're off this call, but I was using it as an example. He had written like he's in marketing, and he had written his like check, like his main value proposition or a quote or something on a Post-it and took a picture of it like next to his desk and stuff. And that was really good. Please don't quote like the 20 management professionals that are quoted all the time, all white males, and Carol Dweck and Brene Brown. Please do not put a Brene Brown quote in there or any of those white management professionals, things like that. If you're gonna put a quote, put your own quote. But you could write like your value proposition in something clever like that. But I would put something. I know a lot of people in like the AI machine learning space do some sort of imagery that represents their work because there's a lot of network connections and things like that. Any other questions so far, y'all?
No.
Who wants to try? What are you looking for? Let's try to work on your what I consider the most important part of your summary and your title. Who's looking for work right now or a job? Anybody?
I am. Always.
Christina, I saw your hand go first. You go. What are you looking for? Also, because maybe somebody here has a job. Probably not if you're on a job.
So my background is telco and consultancy. And I finished my consultancy role in December, and I was going to go on to contracting project management roles just to kind of start with. And as you know, with the COVID situation, but I'm ideally looking for a Scrum Master role. But I think the kind of funny part is, there is this kind of, how should I say, people kind of go, if you have a projecty background, they think you can't do a Scrum Master role, even though there are lots of people who have been doing project management who are completely, team oriented, and that's the reason why they want to transition to being a Scrum Master. So yeah, it's kind of this funny thing of I have all of this experience, and I kind of everybody's like, oh, it's very PM focused, And I'm kind of in the situation of, I'm not really sure how to kind of make everything more Scrum Master oriented, because I think I'm better in person. So I'm like, okay, when I'm talking to people, they realize, okay, I like encouraging the team and working together. But then when they look on my CV, they're like, oh, she was last in consultancy for one of those firms. She's probably going to come in and be very pushy and project oriented and not focus on the team. So yeah, I don't have an about section.
Okay.
Sorry, go
That's
ahead.
okay. No, I was going to say, may I share share the screen of your profile?
Yeah, please.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to ask first. It makes it more productive to talk. First things first, no one calls it, okay, this thing is gonna, all this punctuation is gonna break it.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you would want to do instead, we'll talk about Scrum Master, but Certified Scrum Master space pipe is like the trending thing to use, that thingy, like it's above, on my Mac, it's above my right shift key. Or you can copy paste it from mine. And then
Yeah,
you could do CSM, but I've discussed this with other people. I don't think CSM is that common of an abbreviation to even use. Next, link, this will show up broken in search results. So I would always, the ampersand is something like it never seems to work right. So I would get rid of the ampersand completely. The ats at the end symbol. And now space between Scrum Master, I would definitely add. However, you may want to have it both ways, because obviously your Certified Scrum Master is that. So those are like 3 things immediately that should help you. Yeah. I know the Scrum Alliance removed the space while the other one, Scrum.org, has the space, and that distinguishes you. So you probably want to put both, but you are a Scrum Master, which is 2 words, but you probably want to put both somewhere, probably under, like in your About Us section, you would have like Certified Scrum Master. So you do have an About section, or About Us, About You section. Spaces around everything, none of these parentheses, but everybody uses parentheses. You're very normal. LinkedIn doesn't get it. So you just, that's like really boring ways to help you right away. And we're gonna check, can I open your contact info right now? Can we open it? Yeah. Christina, can I click?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, definitely remove that. Your URL, I would update Google, because it's constantly changing on the site. Google LinkedIn vanity URL. You may need something extra because Thomas is quite a common surname, but to make it like look a little pretty. This is great. It looks like your settings are totally right. So this is all very good. So, and I can see this as a secondary person. So if we look at the right, this is what's interesting. A lot of people put immediately available as their title, but look how short the title is. So Pamela, who were primary connections, she and I still can't see her picture, but she's very nice. She's a member of the community too, but she has immediately available, but on the Agile journey, like it might not show up. So you want like the most important words at the front. So that's a good example. I think it's kind of like, yeah, clearly your LinkedIn profile algorithmically is not reading what you want, because like you've got like an ambassador to Scotland you're being compared to, or things like that. So or account manager, again, totally blanket name that has no value. Maybe in sales it does, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know the acronym BSS. What is BSS?
Business support systems. It's very telco oriented. I'll
I
spell it out.
Do you? Yeah. Well, maybe both, because if it's a really, maybe you'll do business support system space BSS.
Okay.
In the part no one reads. So, do you want to stay in the telco space as a Scrum Master?
No, I actually don't mind being anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, again, I would add those terms, like were you project manager, Scrum, whatever those terms are, I would add them there.
I put that as a note because I know I didn't break down what I was actually doing in my role.
But it's normal. You will in your CV, but it just doesn't carry over to here. It's a good practice. Oh, something to note is that LinkedIn likes continuous updates. So doing, instead of like your CV, you wait and you stress over it and you do like one update, which isn't healthy, I think anyway, because like it's psychologically very draining. But doing a continuous update. So right now, just going in and removing your public birth date would be an update, or reviewing certain things. I assume this is probably not the official employer, so you want to go and type in and select the official employer. Maybe it is because you're connected to like 1,800 people, so maybe they just don't have an official page.
Yeah, I couldn't find an official one with the picture. They're the only ones who kind of slow to get around to it.
That can definitely happen. Get over 260 connections. You want to hit the 500 plus, then no one sees it. The open to work is great. See Scrum Master. I would put both probably. The little register symbol, it won't read. So just remove that and remove
I'll get rid of it.
But I would probably put certified Scrum Master in 2 different ways, or certified Scrum Master like with the official, and then just write Scrum Master with the space. I would definitely have both. Okay, let's talk about the potential opening line of your LinkedIn about section. I'll take notes in the chat, but what type of what role? So you're looking for a Scrum Master role, right? What type of company are you looking for? Like what qualities in a company? What do you value?
I'm looking for a Scrum Master role. So I'm value building their agile journey in terms of they're ensuring that employees are focused on continuous improvement, and in the sense that they want the team to be happy and encourage the team to work towards their individual goals and then come together as a team. So I've kind of done the whole gamut of, people being unhappy in roles where they are. And I kind of think if we're going to be transforming to agile, it's supposed to be about people wanting to be there and being able to work together as a team. So I'm looking for that in a company culture where they're embracing that. One, everybody's in an individual, but they're figuring out how to work together, and then everybody grow at their own pace.
That's great. Instead of they, speak in for the first person. You, I forget.
Yeah, for me. Okay.
Speak. No, like to the company. Instead of like, I want that they are. I want that you are. So it's a sales technique. So you always speak to you. So the you is the company. So what you said is I value building an agile journey and a team that's happy working on both individual and team-based continuous improvement. I would absolutely have the key term continuous improvement in your subject, in your headline. I would definitely have that term in there. Company culture where everything grows, that's really good. So I'm just because I can barely read the chats when I'm writing, so I'm just typing this in the chat. Thank you, Matt. So, and what makes you unique as a person? So you're looking for, it's specifically the term is Scrum Master role that you want. There's no other names for that term?
So I know that in terms of transition, I would be working towards an agile coach, but I think like you, or you mentioned in the beginning, where you can't be a life coach, I've had the kind of association that there's so many coaches out there that I kind of feel if I'm starting on the journey, I want to do the Scrum Master, people shifting towards just having a team coach or just agile coach, and they're not using Scrum Master anymore. So maybe I should add that to my tagline, even though
yes.
The
answer is yes. If you think you should add something to your tagline, yes. Should it be like the first little bit, because you saw how short it shows up? That also reflects mobile, it's very short. Yeah. You want it to, like, if someone's, granted, you don't really have to work from mobile. Nobody's searching on their phones anymore. Everyone's searching on their computers because everyone's work from home. By the way, another value to add that everyone should add is leading remote teams, working on remote teams. It's for the foreseeable future, it's the most valuable technique. So definitely add that. So Andrea said aspiring agile coach. Why aspiring though? Why is she not an agile coach already? Just no one gave her that job title.
It's maybe a bit technical in the agile community. I think some companies will differentiate, as Christina, you said, between the Scrum Master roles and the agile coach roles. Some will differentiate based on the type of expertise or experience you have. So agile coach, in some companies will be more systemic change. So how can you work with the company to improve organizational structures, processes, the wider system, and lead and facilitate continuous improvement there. And as you said, Scrum Master is often more a team-focused role, but you might work with a number of teams over time or even at the same time. So
honestly, I think most of it's that now.
Yeah.
I don't think many Scrum Masters are working with just one team now as companies are trying to stretch resources. That's the sad point of it.
They depend on the company, how they define these roles. So this can be a separate discussion on Slack, I think, how they define. But if you're hiring and you have your own definition for the interviews, I think it's important that you know what you are looking for and what environment would make you more fulfilled. Working more on systemic change, process side, facilitation of networks and communities and leadership, or working with specific teams, more on the day-to-day agility. If you know your own definitions, you will be more successful at field.
No, I definitely want to do both. And I think just because in terms of my mind, I have like a transition plan that I've mapped out for myself. I'm kind of happy with starting on the journey and then I'm like, oh yeah, I can do the systemic stuff.
Okay, I'm on the error on the side of put all the keywords you can in there, ram it with keywords.
No, I'm gonna
so
put it
I
in
will
there.
definitely have those names.
Okay.
So authentic or not, imposter syndrome, blah, 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 all that servant leadership BS. Yeah, it's all nice, but for the purpose of your LinkedIn profile, I would just jam all those keywords in there, but with proper punctuation in between and spacing. And then finally, Christina, in building your like value proposition, because it's very good that you've set the settings, but you also like what you're looking for in the company, I think is really good. What makes you good at your job? What makes you different?
So what makes me good at my job is I am really excited about learning new things, and I get encouraged when the team is working together really good and we're comfortable with making mistakes. Because my background in telco is we kind of never knew anything to begin with and you just figured it out. So that's why my approach has always been, hey, work should be relatively fun if you're going to be doing it for most of your life. So I think my value proposition would be, one, always being engaged in the activities that I'm doing and setting an environment where I'm happy with the people that I'm working with. And even if I'm like having a crap day, I want to be approachable, that people will go, okay, yeah, she's in a bad mood, but you know, I know that I can approach her no matter what.
Yeah, and I was commenting on your reflection on, you know, the self-starter or the self-motivation capability that you have. If you can self-motivate and help others feel engaged, those are two very important skills right now. So for me, I think a question, Jennifer, is how much the emotional intelligence, our personality strengths, could go into the profile beyond just the hard skills of, you know,
it should.
Not the certifications or.
From a keyword standpoint, you want all the hard skills, you want any metrics, things like that. But you also want that's what the about section is about. And your recommendations. We haven't talked about recommendations. Recommendations are incredibly valuable. The statistic is that if you have 10 or more recommendations, no one's going to check your references because it's like a checkbox for human resources. Even that, I would say you need up to date. Like I'm actually myself, I have like a lot of recommendations, but they're getting stale. I need new ones. This is the hardest part of your LinkedIn profile because it relies on another human being. There are definitely people you will be able to write it for them and they post it, and that is totally okay. Guide them in the process. You'll know the people you like that will be very offended by you writing it for them, but the majority of people will be very okay with you writing it for them, like the whole thing or bullets or whatever. I think it's a very good time, especially if you're in a time of transition. If you're about to leave a company, just left the company, it's definitely a time to get those recommendations. Import those email addresses and then get the recommendations. The import is super easy. You can review, you can hit check all, and then if there's like someone you really don't want to add, I would just add everyone, especially if it's from the same, like you've emailed them before from a GDPR standpoint, it's all good. Like LinkedIn seems to be supersede GDPR anyway. So I would definitely, especially in this side, the about section is about you selling that. But also when Christina was talking about you value building an agile journey and a team is happy and all, that is a lot of soft skills. That is about you, but that is specific to the company. So I would start with, if you're looking for a job right now, I'm looking for this role, which in the sense for a Scrum Master, Agile Coach, a Team Coach role. I'm gonna type looking for.
And it's funny because it's countering. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go. I was typing
No, I
out
was
loud.
saying I say it's funny because it's a bit counterintuitive because you get focused in terms of what your CV should look like, and you don't necessarily think of how to add all of that emotional side to it.
Which on your CV probably shouldn't be there. Guess what? Recruiters will never read your objective at the top of the thing. They don't care. They want to see your contact info and in a PDF so they can black it out, so they can black it out if they're sending it on to someone else. And then they want to see your check. Recruiters don't give a crap about your emotional, but it can help if there's a good team that's recruiting as a team, things like that. But recruiters don't give a crap about that, and that's fine because their role is. That's the other thing, how I led to this. Like the majority of my niche in Spain was recruitment companies. I was just like embedded teaching English in recruitment companies. So we did a lot of that, and that is a sales-based job. That is not a people-based job. And I know it's counterintuitive to the whole agile mindset that you're like, well, don't worry about you have to be forward, and you have to, imposter syndrome is bullshit. You need to be able to sell yourself, especially right now. There are fewer jobs. And also to mention like things that are important to you. But that's why I said for the cover photo, like if you have a dog or if you're in an interesting hobby like a sport, because in an interview, that's incredibly valuable because you can talk about that. And if you have like an interesting hobby, add that in your about section. This is about you. Your about section is about you as a human being and what you're looking for and what makes you different. Does anyone else want to try real quick and just discuss like how they're gonna position themselves? I know a bunch of people are logging off, but yeah, and we are coming on our time box, but this will be recorded. You can review back and I'll share the slides as well. Thank you so much, Amani. So does anyone else want to try real quick or have any specific questions?
I just wanted to say one, thanks Christina for volunteering. And two, I have to jump soon, but yeah, I'm always learning something new from you, Jennifer, because I attended a few times you did the previous, previous times you have done this, and always find plenty of notes and new things. I liked two things particular that I'm taking away. One is the small tweaks, like being agile about our profile, regularly updating small tweaks.
Otherwise you'll never do it.
Yeah. And second one is how maybe, I will look at your profile as an example, and Christina also, how sometimes when we pivot our careers, it's different when we are looking for a job in a company versus when we are freelancing. So how to, especially for my context, which I haven't shared yet, where it's more about, a book author and leadership and public speaking and more really consulting, absolutely freelance. I'm not looking for a job. I cannot. So in that case, it's a very different pitch and perhaps a different approach. So.
I just sent like a potential, I just jotted down if you want to copy paste it, Christina. I just sent like a potential, but it's not great. Also, it's written in British. You might be going for American spelling, like that matters. That matters too. I didn't even talk about that, but there are certain words like behavior usually is in British, but most words are usually in American for search results. You want to put in both, like stupid. It's a really dumb tool, but that's good because now you have the tricks to fix it. So when it comes down to it, please, once you've reviewed your profile, take your time, private message me, and this is to everyone that's watching the recording too. Go through it. I'll share with it. I'll share and in the description of the YouTube video, I'll make sure, even though it's a private YouTube video for our community, I'll also share the slide deck, which gets to most of these. The one thing we didn't touch on, especially if you're looking for roles, once you, or for jobs, for clients, etc., projects, I think that is the future of the project-based consultant role. Make sure once you've gone through this process of building a better profile and building your connections, is sharing updates. And this is the one thing I'm going to share just real quick, so it's on the record here, because it's not in the actual public slide deck. You should share about once a day. The slide deck's pretty old, but still completely relevant, except this point is not in there. 2 to 4 hashtags. If you care about accessibility, you need to handwrite their hashtags because you should be capitalizing the first letter of each word. If that is something important to you, because LinkedIn is all lowercase in their annoying hashtags they brought. The first hour you post something, I would highly recommend posting like, hey, I'm looking for this job, if you can share this. But tell people ahead of time, like your friends, so they can comment on it, because the first hour comments really matter, the first hour of sharing really matter. Tag people, and every post you can, give people credit. LinkedIn does not like external links. They must have had a big bounce rate problem. So obviously, like I write for other mediums or media, so I have to. Usually I'm sharing external links, which does hurt the views of the post. But if I share someone else's LinkedIn post, even if it's of an external link, they're okay with that. So share a lot of LinkedIn posts. It's a good way to engage with thought leaders and provide the thought leadership. Comment on other people's posts. Just be aware every comment you post on LinkedIn shows up on your feed, and the last 4 things, it's a good thing to check what shows up, but that's just, once you get that point, it's really good to share links, and then of course, share with our community to reshare. So thank you, everyone.